Hi, we're not on the range today. We're at one of our training facilities, so you may have to put up with a lot of noise in the background. Hopefully none of it will be gunfire. Recently we did a presentation comparing several different types of compact autoloaders in caliber .380 ACP, one of which was the Smith & Wesson Walther PPK-S. Now this led to a lot of commentary and questions, and I want to deal with two of those questions today. One of which being, could we test the Bersa Thunder 380? And the answer is, because of donations to the Patreon account, yes we can. Thank you everybody. Now the Bersa Thunder 380 is not an exact replica of the PPK-S, but it is pretty much a copy of it, and there's definitely some advantages and disadvantages to both. One of the advantages of the Bersa that we can readily see is that it comes in designer colors. So let's shoot these two side by side and let's see how the Bersa stacks up against the PPK. And first we'll discuss accuracy. I'll go back 15 yards and I'll shoot the target on the top with the PPK-S and the target on the bottom with the Bersa, and we'll see how they compare. Well, the group with the PPK is certainly more centered, but is it a better group in terms of size? I'd say marginally yes. Now, our group with the Bersa is off to the left. It would appear our sights are off. Well, we're in luck, as where the PPK, the rear sight is just dovetailed in, and to adjust for windage, you have to hit it with a mallet. On the Bersa, the rear sight is adjustable. There's a screw that you can adjust for windage. That's a big plus. Now you see where it looks like I've got two small groups as opposed to just one group? That has to do with my inability to focus on these white dot sights. The front sight has a big white dot on it, and it becomes kind of a round peg in the square hole of the rear sight for me. So let's adjust the sights on the Bersa. I'll color in these white dot sights and see if I can get this group any more centered and perhaps a little bit smaller. Well, after adjusting the sights and blackening in those white dots, I'd say that group is just a little bit better. However, there's two things of note here. We're about 75 rounds into this gun, but virtually all of those were fired by one of the crew. I've only put 10 rounds through it, as where I've shot PPKs for years. The second thing is kind of a downside. I was so happy about the screw that you could adjust the rear sights. While adjusting the sight, the screw broke. That says something about the quality control of Bersa. Now, we were shooting slow fire. Let's try shooting a little faster. I'll go back 7 yards and I'll shoot the target on your left with the PPK-S and the target on your right with the Bersa, and I'll shoot as fast as I think I can hit. And let's compare those results. Now these two targets can tell us several things. First, when I fired the PPK-S, you noticed that I shot 7 rounds, then there was a delay, then 7 more. When you buy the PPK-S, it comes with 2 7-shot magazines. The Bersa, the rate of fire was a little bit slower. I'm trying to get accustomed to the very poor trigger pull. But there was 8 rounds. I delayed that last one to accentuate the point. When you buy the Bersa, it only comes with 1 mag, but it's an 8-shot mag. As far as the groups, they speak for themselves. Now there's a couple other things I want to cover in comparing the PPK-S to the Bersa Thunder. One is the topic of the slide release. On the PPKS, with the last shot, the slide locks back. You take the magazine out, but there is no slide release. If you have an empty magazine in there, it won't go forward. You have to keep the magazine out or put in a magazine with more rounds in it. And the way to get the slide to go forward is pull back and let go. There's no slide release. As where with the Bersa, on the last round, the slide locks back. You can take the magazine out. But there is a slide release that is very easy to reach and functions very smoothly. And to me, that's a big plus. And then you hit your decock lever. And granted, this gun is still new, but that decock lever is hard to reach and really stiff. While by contrast, the decock lever on the PPKS is very easy to reach and functions very smoothly. Another thing about these two guns is that although the PPK is a little bit heavier, the Bersa is significantly bigger. The grip is a little bit longer, it's an 8-shot magazine instead of a 7, and significantly fatter, and the barrel is 3.5 inches as opposed to 3.25 inches for the PPKS. It's a significantly bigger gun. Now in the world of compact 380s, a lot of people are of the opinion that the PPKS is at the very top of that scale, and some people will say that it even breaks the scale. And the Bersa is even bigger. It's really difficult to call this a subcompact or a pocket gun. Now there's one other thing that comes up that is a very big advantage for the Bersa, and there's one very big advantage for the PPKS. The big advantage for the Bersa is price. I don't like to speak about the specifics because prices can change so much from one place to another, but very often this Bersa Thunder will cost about half what the PPKS does. And the big advantage the PPKS has, and this might sound silly, but it's very important to a lot of people. At least as far as the most recent Daniel Craig movie that I saw, the PPKS and caliber .380 ACP, or as they called it, 9mm short, is James Bond's gun. And that kind of thing is really important to some people. Let me tell you an anecdote. My friend Joe, yes, same guy, quite a while ago he wanted to buy a handgun, and he got his mind set that he wanted a PPK, not an S, just a PPK, in caliber .32 ACP. We went to a big gun show, we found somebody selling several PPKs, and he wanted to buy the .32, and I told him, wait a minute, Joe. We had a discussion, and I was able to talk him into buying the .380 on the idea that the .380 is more powerful, and at least in the part of the country we live in, less expensive and more available than .32 ACP ammunition. Now, Joe did want to get a good gun that could be called upon if he needed it, but what I didn't understand, and this was a big mistake on my part, is that what he really wanted was to be able to say that he has James Bond's gun. This would have been back just after the Roger Moore days when he still had a PPK in caliber .32 ACP, because it was important to Joe to be able to say something like Walther PPK caliber 7.65mm, or however the line goes. And although that kind of thing is totally irrelevant to some of us, it is very important to some people to say they have Dirty Harry's gun, or, as I heard somebody say once, this is just like the gun they use on Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, or in some cases being able to say they have James Bond's gun. Now, at the beginning of this presentation, I said there were two questions I wanted to deal with. One being, can we test a Bersa? The answer being, yes, we can. The other question being, why would you carry these two compact, that aren't really compact, .380 ACP single-stack guns when you could carry a gun like this SIG 365, which has a double-stack 12-shot magazine, caliber 9x19, and the gun is smaller and lighter than either of those .380s? And that's a really good question, but it's a topic for another time. So until then, don't try this at home on What You Call a Professional, and thanks for watching the Bersa Thunder video.